pulled off the old fuel pump. I'm gonna put that in its place. It's got a 10 AN on it. Hopefully that works good enough for our turbo drain. Also, wrap this thing up. So now you never know if it had good welds or not. No, but honestly, it does look a lot better wrapped. Plus it'll help keep the engine bay cool. And then we got the old fuel pump there. There's the new fuel pump. And we got old regulator there. New regulator. And this is the old fuel lines. These are 8 AN lines right here. Let's see. You compare that to the new, it's 12 AN lines. Massive difference. Should have plenty of fuel. So yeah, keep y'all updated.
I don't know how many videos Chris has made. I'm working, I come out for lunch. Work from home. Put the carb hat on, the carb spacer, so it would clear that. We mounted the turbo up. He put the oil drain where the fuel pump goes. And we're going to hook the feet up, but he's missing a piece for that, so we're going to have to go to the hardware store and see what they got. But yeah, we're getting there. Alright guys, we didn't make a bunch of videos because we've been working on it all day, but we run into just stupid stuff that took forever. Like these 12 AN lines. They did not want to go together. And then PTFE lines are easier than the regular AN lines. I was trying to tell Chris that, and he was trying to do those. He was like, no way. And then he did one of the 10 AN lines. Threw it right together. And then this contraption back here took 100. Runs to the parts store.
The oil feed.
Yeah, the oil feed and all that. And
you got the oil feed brand.
yeah, we had to build this big thing to get it to work. And we like to never got it, the one out of the block, out of the channel wall. The intake went back too far. You couldn't get a socket on it, couldn't get a wrench on it. So we fought with that. And then we tapped the back of the carb hat. And we ran the lines around this way to the wastegates, both sides. And we drilled and tapped the back of the spacer, so he's going to put a vacuum block up there. That's going to be for the brake booster, the regulator,
The map sensor.
blow off valve, map sensor. Yep. So there's like 4 things we need that for. And Chris made some 10 AN lines and just laid them out because that's about where the fuel pump's going to be, back here somewhere. He's already got the fittings on these ends. Now we're not going to be able to finish it this weekend like we hope, because number one, we don't have a map sensor for the 6AL programmable. Number two, we are missing all these orb fittings for the regulator. And I guess this middle one's the feed and the bottom's the return. And we'll probably put a plug in this one. Chris saw this on YouTube. Put a plug in this one and drill and tap it for 1/8 inch so we can put a gauge on it. And then, see, that's all the fittings we had. But that'll go somewhere right here. And then you know, you return out the bottom, main feed in the side, 10 AN, then 8 up here, and 8 up there. But we need all those fittings. We need 2 plugs. We need this fitting. What was that, 10 orb, and these are 8s. Yeah, those are 8s. These 4 are 8s and the middle one's a 10. And the bottom's a
10.
10, yeah. So we got to put that up. He's going to have to order parts for that, but we can get everything done except for that. So tomorrow we're going to put the tank in. We cleaned the tank out too real good and put it all together. So it's ready to go in. We're going to do that tomorrow. Hang the pump, mount the pump, run the wires for the pump. We're going to do it off a relay, off one of these switches up here. And then we need to do the air hat little tubes. He's got some that came with the carburetor, but they don't work with that air hat.
No, not installed this cold side still.
Yeah, and Chris knocks the cold side with the wrench, so we can put that together once we get the tubes and the hat. He notched all that, so once we get the tubes in the hat, then we can put the intake on and it'll be done, and that'll all be done, and we'll just have to run some more lines when he gets his vacuum block.
And then we gotta build our...
Oh, and then we'll probably go to Lexington tomorrow and go to one of them diesel shops and see if we can get some 5-inch pipe.
Should have it come out right here.
Which we need a 5-inch hole saw. Did you order one of those? They might have one of those at the parts store. But we're just going to do a straight shot and kind of weld it in here at an angle so it will come straight over there.
It'll come out right here.
But he's going to put it out right there. Wow.
That's gonna look good.
But we're definitely going to put the tank in, put the pump on tomorrow, run the lines for the pump, and then we're going to run the return and feed all the way up to here where the regulator's setting. And we're going to run the however much we want to see how much we got left over, and then we'll run the return. Plus he's got to get the fitting for that. That has a 12 AN fitting on it, so he's got to get a 10 AN to 12 because coming off the turbo's a 10. And yeah, unfortunately it's not going to be running this weekend. Well, I mean it runs, just not on boost. That wasn't going to happen anyway because we don't have a map sensor. Is that right, Chris?
You got a fuel pump.
But yeah, we'll keep going. We're getting there, slowly but surely. All right, we're back here at the carport garage. It's another day, and we got some breakfast. And we went and got some brake lines because on these boosted blow-through applications, you got to have the vent tubes. They go to the fuel bowls right there. They got to run out the front of the carb hat so they're in line with the boost. So when the boost comes in, it pressurizes the fuel bowls and helps fuel for the boost. And that's why it's very important you run a boost reference fuel pressure regulator on a carburetor application. Because if the boost rises higher than the fuel pressure, you're not going to get no fuel. It's just going to push it right back out of the bowl rather than, yeah, anyway. But Chris is going to bend and make some line. I think he already kinked it. How'd you kink it with that?
That's a good question.
It's a crappy tool. But that's just brake line. We're using a brake line bender there. And we're going to figure out a way to, because his has the
It'll be like that.
that little middle piece, so we got to contend with that. Yeah, right there. We got to contend with that and have both of them come out the front. So that top one, it's got to go by that big bolt and go up and around, and I don't really know how he's going to do that, but that'll be his fun. I'm going to put the tank in. And we did wind up putting the return on the side of the tank, just because carburetor, I don't think it'd be a good idea to have fuel going in right there and then right beside it coming out anyway. But carburetor don't like to push back into gasoline anyway, where you have to set the fuel pressure so low, and it's trying to push through gasoline, push it back to the return. I heard it's not a good idea to do that, so we did put maybe on fuel injection that would work, but where the pressure is going to be so low, I think this is going to work better. From what I read, we don't 100% know what we're doing, but we're just trying our best. But we filled it up, made sure there wasn't no leaks. We filled it up with diesel fuel and shook it around and drained it out, so hopefully it's all cleaned out. Now I'm gonna throw it in there after I do some wire stripping. All right, that's what Christopher come up with. That should do it to it. Some light on the subject. Yeah. That should do it to it. And the tank is in, sending unit's all wired up. Now we can run some lines. All right, Chris has the intake ducting done. We just have to order a bigger key clamp for up here, but he's just going to put a big hose clamp on it for now. And then we still need, we're going to make the drain and run it over here, but this one that goes in over here, it's a 12. And what comes off of it's a 10, so he's going to have to get like a 10 to 12 AN90. You did get a 90, right?
No, that's going to be a straight, and then the 90 will be made into the hose.
Okay.
I already got it.
All right.
But no, it's so short. It's only going to come out like right there. It's female.
Yeah. So when it drains from the turbo to wherever you're draining it to, it's all got to go downhill. But I guess the next thing to do is we're going to jack it up and put it on our wooden blocks or our homemade jack stands, and get under it and mount the pump and wire the pump and run the lines at least up to here. And I guess that's all we can do for now until we get the fitting for that drain and the fittings for that. And we need the fittings for the fuel filter, but the fuel filter to the pump and coming out and into the pump, we need those fittings. But and Chris already ordered those, but we can at least know where the lines are going to go and run the lines. And then he ordered the vacuum block too, so once that gets here, I can just put the vacuum block up, run it to everything, hook the map sensor up, and then just screw all the lines in and send it. But first, I got the 12 AN line on down here. I'm gonna run some fuel through the tank and into a bucket, and make sure that line's cleaned out. Anytime you make these lines and stuff like that, where you're cutting them and working on them, and those AN lines, they get crap in them, man, and you don't want to just hook them straight up. You want to run something through them before you hook them up. But possibly we'll get this one done. With what we can do with it, we are going to go to Lexington and try to get a 5-inch pipe, or I'm going to call them, see if they got one. And we'll go up there and get that, and we'll probably try to work on this. But if we get what we can get done with this, my fuel pump came in early, so we'll put the fuel pump in that one. I want to put the fuel pump in it and take Chris for a ride in it anyway, but need to put the fuel pump on that one, hope it fixes it. If it don't, I already ordered a different fuel pressure regulator. I'm gonna try that, because that one was only 30 bucks on Amazon. But then tune on that, and that one will be ready. And I got a boost controller for it, so we can put a boost controller on it now and turn it up a little bit. That's where we're at. Well, unfortunately, the only place open on a Saturday that has 5-inch straight pipe is closed. They closed at 12, and it's already 12. It's like 12:03, which it's an hour drive there, so it doesn't even matter about that. So all we can do is jack it up and run these fuel lines. I guess that's all we can do, and mount the pump and run the wires for the pump. That's really all we can do. Then we'll put the fuel pump in that one, drive it around a little bit, and tune on it some. That's where we're at. Wow, wheels up, man. Yeah. Alright, so here's what we got. We got a 12 AN, and it does go up and over the axle and then back down, and we got the pump right there. The instructions do say the pump has to be lower than the gas tank, and it's definitely lower than the gas tank, but we just bolted it right up underneath the rear seat. And Chris is running the Adele clamps up there. We got the return line right there. It goes up and over the axle. We're going to zip tie those and Adele clamp those where we can, and there it goes. It's all the way up into the line's already up into the engine bay, and there's plenty. How many feet did you get?
I think it's 220s.
220 feet
40,
pieces.
40 feet.
There's plenty left over. Might be enough to do my car. But, yeah, he's drilling and putting self-tappers into the lower control arm and into the side of the frame up through there, but I think that's going to work. I wish we could have put the pump back here somewhere, but this wouldn't be a good place to put it if we drag the bumper. This ain't even going to be a good place if we drag the bumper. Oh, I'm not even on where we're looking.
He said, dude.
Yeah, we got a boost controller this, and we launch it too hard, it should drag the bumper. I mean, it did a pretty massive wheelie on nitrous a few times, and that was with the suspension not correct. We got the suspension correct now. I'm pretty sure those extenders are going to keep it from blowing the tire off. But yeah, we about got all we can do on the fuel system. We need the we just have that 100 micron filter screwed into there, but it's an AN fit end, so we need an AN to orb 12 AN to put between the filter and the pump, and then the other side of the pump we need a 10 AN orb to a 10 AN, but we at least got the line run over to it, and then up into the engine bay. And here's the feed and the return. These are both going to get 90s. And then one will go into the bottom, and one will go into the side. The feed will go into the side, and the return will go into the bottom. And we might put a Dell clamp on that back head bolt and bring them up like that. And then over. The weird thing about this PTFE is it's got a plastic tube inside, and if you bend it too much, it cramps.
It sucks.
And it's really a pain in the butt because the way it's raveled, and you try to even unravel it, it'll try to cramp. Especially the 12 AM line, it was the worst, man. You had to be real careful. You had to work with the bend as you was messing with it. But I don't know exactly how we're going to run it from here to the regulator. But I also on these AN fittings. All right, so on these PTFE AN fittings, see if I can do this and hold the camera at the same time. But put tape on this when you cut it. And you cut it. I was just using the grinder cut off wheel. And you put this piece on first. This is for PTFE. Now, once you got that on there, you take the tape off. And the tape will, once you take the tape off, this end will fray out. And when you do, you put this on. This will go on bevel this way, bevel towards my thumb, just like I got it. There we go. And it'll go underneath the fray, but on the outside of the plastic tube. And you put that all the way in until it comes up to this lip. See that lip right there? That top one? Up to that lip. Once you got that in there, I would do it, but I It's hard for me to hold it and do it at the same time. But once you got this in there, you take this, and it really helps if these edges are beveled. Like the 12AN, that's why we couldn't hardly get it in there. And some of them make a little tool that you can tap down in there to open that up a little bit too, but his kit didn't come with that. My 8AN kit did, but I don't know. But anyway, that bevel wasn't in the 12AN that we had, so I used a file and cut it in there, because you just couldn't put it in there without that bevel in there. But once you got your metal ring on there, it's hard to hold the phone and do this. Actually helps to have a big old belly to hold the phone. Jeez, all Pete's. Yeah, but once you got this on there, again, this beveled part towards this top nut, and that beveled part will go under the fray. And like I said, when you take that tape off, it'll fray out. You put that in there, and you want the plastic to come up to this ledge. Once you got all that on there, then you stick this down in the hole, and it ain't easy. I've been using Vaseline right here and just working it. Don't beat on it, because if you beat on it, you'll crush the plastic and it'll mess it up. You'll have to start all over. Just kind of stick it in there and twist and push and twist and push and twist and push till it goes all the way in. Once it goes all the way in, you bring the nut down, twist it. You'll have to twist it over the frayed part, and then it'll start threading. Then you tighten it up, and sometimes they don't tighten all the way up, and you'll have a little bit of a gap there. But you want to tighten them up as tight as you can. I was just using 2 really big Allen wrenches. But yeah, I'm sorry that demonstration sucked just because I have to hold the camera. But yeah, I got some zip ties. I'll get them too. Gotta get Chris some zip ties. And there we go. Again, that comes 12AN, comes off the back, and goes up and over, hits the filter, hits the pump, and then there's also the return up there on the side of the tank. That comes down, and Chris put the Adele clamps in there. And then up here where it was the 210AN, he put 1 hole. That's a really good idea. Spotted them out like that. And then all the way up to the front, up into the engine bay. And then the 2 battery cables. Batteries in the trunk. Those are the battery cables right there. He's got those done on the other side of the subframe connector. Same way. Looks good. Pretty much done down here. But I'm going to unhook the 12AN line, and I'm going to run fluid through that. About a gallon or so, make sure it's all cleaned out, and then I'll hook it up to the filter, and then I can hook all this up once we get the fittings, and then I can turn it on and clean out with the feet unhooked in the engine bay, and run about a gallon through it, and that'll clean that one out, and then I can hook it up. Once I hook that up, then I can unhook the return at the tank and run another gallon through it to clean that line out, and then I can hook that back up, you know, once we get all the bungs for the fuel pump and the regulator. But you want to run fluid through the lines you know, separately in each area. So it'd be that 12AN, I'll run fluid through right there and just catch it in a can or something. Make sure it's all cleaned out. When you do them AN fittings, you get stuff down in there, and you cut them, it gets a bunch of stuff in there. And then once I get that one cleaned out, I can hook it up to here, hook it up to there, unhook it in the engine bay, let it pump through, hook it to the regulator, and unhook the return at the tank, turn the pump on, let it pump through a little bit, and then hook that one back up. But yeah, you definitely want to run fluid through the lines before you hook them up to where they're going to go through stuff important. But yeah, I think that's about all we can do besides some wiring. We'll some wires, some run some wires. It's going to drill a hole right there. It's going to come out under the seat, which is, and then we can just run it up the side and back into the trunk. And we'll put a relay in the trunk and run the relay directly to the battery. And then to trigger the relay, we're going to run that up to a switch, one of Christopher's nitrous switches. So that's how we're going to run that. All right, Chris is running the wire off one of the switches to the trunk. Then he's going to drill a hole down here where we mounted the fuel pump and run 2 wires up. And we're just going to put the relay up here and hook it directly to the battery, which it won't come on until he flips the switch. And while he's doing that, I got this TI Automotive 525 liter per hour Hellcat pump. It's going to go right there. Yes, sir. Alright, fuel pump is changed on that one. And me and Chris are going to drive it and log it and see if it helps any. But we'll put a relay in this one. He's going to drill and self-tap it right there. And that's for the fuel pump. And that'll go directly to the battery. The ground's already hooked up. And we already tested it. And it works. So that's really all we can do with this one until we get those fittings.
Alrighty, we're connected. Zoom out a little bit. There we go. Check your duty. About 95%.
It was fat as hell too. That's a good sign. It was 10 something.
Yeah, I got it on here. 95%. It's really fast.
It was really fat, so if we bring that up, that should fix it. It's no good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that fixed it.
Yeah, it
Stay
looks
below
good.
90 something.
It's 95.
That's perfect, man, because when I move the tables down, that'll come down.
Yep.
Sweet.
We'll get the tables and try again.
Alright, so let's just do a little before and after of the new fuel pump install. So here's before. And I'm glad I had Chris with me because Chris realized right here, when I set this up and did the user math and everything like that for the scanner to read the wideband correctly, it reads correctly from 14 AFR up to 18 AFR, but for some reason down low it's not reading correctly. It's almost reading 1 full AFR off. So I'm going to have to figure that out. But anyway, so just -1 from this. So really 1298, it was 1198. This is the 1064 pass at the drag strip. You'll notice the highest it got on map was 135.9. Actually, I didn't know it went that high. That's like 5.5 pounds of boost. Ooh, 136 even. That's almost 6 pounds there. And it all depends on what there is outside too. Like key on, you want to engine off, you want to look at the map pressure there, and then however much high you go here, and do some mathematic calculations to figure out exactly how much boost you have. But if the KPA on a perfect day is 100, and then this 0.147 map pressure is going to be over 100 anyway. 0.147 is going to be roughly 1 pound of boost. So I've just been doing that, which 133 is like 4.8, I think. 135 is like 5.5 or, but anyway, what we're looking at is the duty cycle in the AFR. So we're at like 12 AFR here, and we're already over 100, 106, 105. So we go to the after the fuel pump install, and look how fat it is. It is stupid fat. But now look, it's stupid fat. We're up to about 5 pounds of boost. Actually, a little over 5 pounds of boost there, and we're still 93%. And this is the gauge. It bottomed out the gauge in the car, so the gauge went so low in the car that it was just reading like 10 flat. So really, that was like 10 flat, 9.8 somewhere in there. Because again, I said this is reading 1 AFR too high according to the gauge, and the gauge is going to read it better than this is. So actually we went up to about 1028 there, right around 5 pounds of boost. And the injector duty cycle is still under 100%. And here it was 100 to 106 on that other fuel pump. So after this, being so fat, we took 10% of fuel out of it, and we got this. Here's hit 1, 83%. We're around 11.3 AFR. Again, this is reading 1 too high. I have to figure out why. But look, we didn't go over 85%. And we're up to about 5 pounds of boost here. 85, 86, 87. So it went as high as 88. So that was the first one. Second little hit here. We hit a 134 right there. I think it went as high as 135. But again, injector duty cycle over here, 84%. I can live with that. That is fine. It does tickle 90 a few times, but I'm okay with that. 134 map pressure. Yeah. And around 11.4 AFR, which is perfect. The next hit, 86%, 134 map pressure, 135, 88%. Yeah. So yeah, it was the fuel pump. My old Walbro, however you say that, 450 liter prior. Apparently it just got tired. And it is leaking in the tank still. I use those better clamps on that plastic looking, I don't know what it's made out of, that plastic line they send with those fuel pump kits. It don't like to seal at the sending unit no matter what I do. It's like it don't fit. It's supposed to be 3/8, but it don't fit. So I went to racetronics.com and I ordered some of that rubber line, 3/8 rubber line, and it's made for E85. It's good for 100 PSI, which will never go over 100 PSI fuel pressure ever, or even close to it. Max we'll ever go is 60, 75, probably 75 max ever. That's a way bigger turbo and a way better fuel, etc. But yeah, which the fuel system will be changed out by then anyway. But on this setup here, we'll probably only ever go as high as 65 PSI. So that rubber line will work perfect. It seals better at the sending unit to the pump, and it's good for E85. And then we got the boost controller. We'll put the boost controller on it, and we'll start turning it up and see if we can't get this little GT45 Turbo 5.3 into the nines. I think it's capable. But y'all like and subscribe and have a great day. And here's a little hit on it on the trans break.